Grr, arg.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to the season 8 premiere of the Mixtape Podcast, where we talk about movies from a screenwriter's perspective, but also movies that we love from a fan's perspective. I will be your host. My name is Dean, and I am joined by, as always, by Marcelo Inestrosa, my co-host with the most. And up this week, we have my favorite movie of all time. We have Beetlejuice, released in 1988, directed by Tim Burton and written by Michael McDowell and Warren Scarron. And I would love to give a shout out to the person, the composer that scored the movie, Mr. Danny Elfman. It is my favorite score, probably of all time. I am obsessed with it. Are you obsessed with it, Marcelo?
Woo! This score is awesome, folks. Just fun fact, I have a writing playlist, and there are so many songs on my writing playlist of this score. It's just so great.
Just gives me chills. Every time I listen to it, it gives me chills. Anyway, if you don't know what Beetlejuice is about, it is about this. The spirits of a deceased couple are harassed by an unbearable family that has moved into their house. All right, the opening scene to Beetlejuice is this. Right away, we're introduced to a couple, Barbara and Adam, and they're a loved up couple and they're really sweet and they're kind of Susie Homemaker, they're country, and they're redecorating their house for their vacation at home. Adam, they're in the attic and Adam is building a town model because that's a hobby that he has. And they decide to head into town to get some supplies to redecorate the house. And on their way back, a dog ruts out in front of them as they're driving across a bridge, causing them to swerve and end up in the river. The car flips and it ends up sinking into the river. This is one thing. Now, I want to ask you, Marcelo, this is one thing that I had never noticed before until I was reviewing it with my screenwriter's brain. So when they swerve, the car kind of tilts and Adam puts his hand out the window. He can see the dog standing on a board, right? So when the dog jumps off, the car goes into the water. But Adam's window is fully open. My issue is, and I don't have a lot of issues with this movie, but this is the first time I've noticed this. When the car goes into the ocean, his window is open. So why couldn't he have gotten out of the car? Is that like plausible, or am I just like making shit up here?
No, you're not making shit up here. He could have gotten out of the car. I think that is a writing oversight by the writers because there's no reason that he wouldn't be able to get out of the car. Look, the car did flip over, but it's highly unlikely that when the car flipped over, that both Adam and Barbara got their necks broken. And if they got their necks broken, that's the only way that they couldn't get out of the car.
I'll take that. I'll take it because we don't know, but yeah, I'll take it.
I have a serious problem with the start of this movie. This fucking real estate bitch. That woman, every time. Look, I have seen Beetlejuice probably more times than I can count. But every time I see this fucking movie, that woman is the most unfair, vicious fucking. I hate this woman, and the fact that this woman is trying to sell this house while these two lovely people are still living in it is a bunch of bullshit. And her primary excuse is because she thinks that, oh, this house is too big for you. This house belongs to to somebody with a family. How fucking insulting. Are you fucking out of your mind, you fucking psychotic bitch?
I know. She's such a shit character.
God damn it. She's such a piece of shit. She's a really good actress, by the way.
Yeah, she is. No, she's but it makes for the story because then she moves in the next family. So yeah, but she's super fucking annoying.
It works. It works.
So the next scene, or the first official scene of the movie after the opening scene, is Barbara and Adam arrive home and they're all wet. They notice weird stuff in the house that wasn't quite right when they left. So the fire is lit and they're like, well, Barbara says, well, I didn't like that. Like, why is it lit? And then she kind of just leaves it. She's like, maybe I did, right? Because sometimes you forget to do things. And then they go to the fire and they put their hands up to warm themselves, and the fire kind of bursts in front of them, and Barbara's like 2 forefingers, there's flames coming out, but she doesn't feel the pain. And she's like, okay, that's weird. And then Adam goes, "Do you remember how we got back to the house?" Like they have no memory. The last memory they have is when they're in the car and then they're in the house. So Adam goes, "I'm going to retrace my steps." And he tries to leave the house and kind of steps into this barren, like desert wasteland, complete with like a giant sandworm, until Barbara pulls him back in the house and says, "You've been gone for hours." Now, he just stepped out. So obviously, time works differently when you step out of the house to when you're in the house. They look into a mirror and they don't have reflections. And so now they're starting to think something's wrong. And then they find a book entitled The Handbook for the Recently Deceased. And then Barbara looks at Adam and says, "I don't think we survived the crash." I love that scene because in a 5-minute scene, it shows you everything you kind of, it sets up pretty much the whole movie. And just it's little things. It's not even a, "Oh, this is your funeral, this is your dead body." It's just like everything's the same but different. And I like the little things, and their reactions are so genuine because if you're in that situation, what would you think? Like, yeah, I thought it was a really, really good setup for the tone of the movie.
This scene is extremely economical because, like Dean said, it just shows you little things that are different, but also it just has this weird vibe to it. The thing that I like about this scene so much is because when we die, this place seems like a place that people who actually believe in that sort of thing would go to.
Mm, your house. Like familiar,
Yeah.
familiar territory.
Yeah. Cause also all throughout this movie, I really think that Barbara and Adam are in their own kind of purgatory.
Yeah. So the next scene is we go underground to a cavern, and we see a man from behind, and he was reading a newspaper entitled The Afterlife Newspaper, which I awesome. And he turns to the business section, which basically are
I
the
want a subscription to that
so
thing.
do I, which are basically the obituaries, and that's kind of funny. And he sees a picture of recently deceased Adam and Barbara, and he says, "Cute couple, looks nice and stupid too." Now, that's that scene. It sets up Beetlejuice, but you don't see him, but you hear his iconic, like Beetlejuice Michael Keaton voice, and you see that something has pinpointed Adam and Barbara. So something is going to come after them, which is really kind of foreboding. You're like, what's coming after them? What is he going to do? Is he going to attack them? Like, is he dead too? We don't know. So I love that first initial setup of Beetlejuice.
When I was a kid, that first initial look at Beetlejuice from behind with him reading the newspaper scared the shit out of me. There's something about Michael Keaton's take on this role, his tone of voice. It's funny, but it's terrifying at the same time. So I really, really like Michael Keaton's. I really like Tim Burton's choice to give the audience a sort of taste of Beetlejuice, but to save the big reveal until later. I thought that was a brilliant decision.
So the next scene, the house has been sold and the Deets move in. Now they're city folk, they're from New York, and they're completely opposite to Adam and Barbara. Adam and Barbara are very country, but very Connecticut, and these people are very, very rich New York. And they want to completely remodel the house. And we also meet, we meet Otho. He is their interior designer. He doesn't live with them, but he comes with them because Delia Dietz, which is the mother, she wants him to completely remodel the house. Now, Adam and Barbara are not happy, but they can't do anything because they're ghosts. But then they realize they're ghosts, so maybe they can scare them away. So they devise this plan to basically haunt them so they'll leave, but the family can't see them. so it fails. No matter what they do, the family are not open to seeing them. And I love that because when people are not open, then they won't be able to see, they can't see kind of the strange and unusual, right? Whereas people that are open to the strange and unusual, they kind of can see it. So that kind of makes so much sense to me. So we meet Delia Dietz, and she's very neurotic. It's my way or the highway. She completely controls her husband Charles. He's just like, she wears the pants. She says go. He has no say in anything. He does not have a backbone at all. She always gets her way, and Charles is really chilled. And then we meet Lydia, which is Winona Ryder, and she's kind of a goth, and she's interesting because she's kind of quiet. She kind of keeps to herself, and she's not like Charles, but she's not like Delia at all. She's got her own thing going on. And then basically Barbara has had enough, and she's like, F this, I'm going. And she goes outside only to be confronted by the giant sandworm and realizes they're trapped in the house with the new family. Oh no, what are they going to do? Love it.
Seeing Adam and Barbara trying to deal with these people and trying to devise ways to scare the shit out of them. And the thing to note here, guys, Adam and Barbara are very, very low key. They're very, very sweet people. So the things that they try and do to scare the deets out of their house are ridiculous. I'm like, guys, you guys are ghosts and you're doing that. you're gonna. I mean, come on, guys. Where's the originality? But I have to say this: the introduction of "Oh, Be Still My Heart," Winona Ryder, her introduction is cool because her character comes in on a piece of furniture.
Yeah.
It is so cool.
So cool.
And she stands up and she walks over to like the stairs or whatever. And she sees a spider web and she goes, I could live here. That's just such a cool fucking introduction.
Yeah.
Oh, and by the way, folks, when I was a kid, I had a crush on Lydia Deetz.
Yeah.
Ah, so cool.
The Deets are having dinner and they're discussing what to do with the house. And Delia basically wants to completely gut it and make it her own. And Charles wants to leave it as it is, and so does Lydia, but Delia, it basically overrides them both. She's like, no, I'm doing it. Basically, I don't care what you say. And Adam and Barbara are listening, but they can't stop it. And you feel really bad for them because it's like they can't leave the house. They have to stay. But like they have to endure this family too. I love that. That's good writing. That's good filmmaking because you trap your characters. And if you trap your characters in an environment, it gives so much more tension and drama. And it's like, what are they going to do? And that's exactly what the screenwriter has done with this. And I think it's great.
No, I think the screenwriters for this movie did a great thing when it comes to constructing this story. They continuously put themselves in a corner, and they found unique and interesting ways to write themselves out of that corner. By putting two of the main characters in this movie, by giving them restricted space, by making them not leave the house, it's genius. It's great. It's lovely. But also, I love the fact that Lydia and Charles are open to keeping the house the same, but the quote unquote person who wears the pants in the family wants to change everything. And I love it when, I believe it's Leah's mom, I can't remember her name at this point, it's escaping me for a minute,
Delia.
when Delia goes upstairs and she goes into the study where Charles is, and Charles goes, how about not touching this room? How about just leaving it all the way it is? Just don't touch this room. And Delia goes, Charles, I have agreed to come here. If you do not let me get out this house, I will go completely insane, and I'm gonna take you with me. It is so good.
And then he goes, okay, why don't you just leave this room alone? Okay. And she's like, hey.
It's just so good.
I know, it's so good. It just, the characters, how they're written, Adam and Barbara and Lydia and Charles and Delia are all completely different from each other. And I love that. Just by a few lines of dialogue, they're completely different. So the screenwriters have done really, really well with the characterization of their characters. So as the renovations begin, Adam and Barbara are basically at their wits' end. They can't leave. They can't do anything. So they open the book because for the recently deceased, there's got to be something in there. When a pamphlet falls out about someone called Beetlejuice, and in the pamphlet it says, call on him if you're having trouble with the living. So that's a setup. Now we cross to Lydia and she's outside and she's got a camera with her, and she looks up at the attic window and she sees Adam and Barbara looking out the window. Nobody else can see them. And this is the setup to she's the only one that can see them, which is great. But I love the shot that Tim Burton uses. It's far away. So you're kind of squinting. You're like, what is she looking at? But if you really look at it, you can see Barbara and Adam in the window. It's far away, but it's close enough. Like he did great. And Lydia's looking up like, did I see someone? Did I not see someone? But we kind of know that she did. So the bitch, a real estate woman, she comes up and she gives Lydia like a skeleton key for the house because they haven't been able to get into the attic because Adam has locked the door and they can't figure out how to get in. So Lydia goes upstairs and she's got the key and she puts the key in the door, and then Adam and Barbara go and fucking freak out. And she puts the key and she tries to turn it, but because Adam and Barbara are there, they stop her from doing it. And then Adam pushes the key out on Lydia's side, and Lydia's like, oh my God, what the fuck? Meanwhile, the TV in the attic turns on, and it's a commercial with Beetlejuice himself selling himself as the afterlife's leading exorcist to get rid of the living. And obviously it's fucking Beetlejuice dressed up as a fucking cowboy, which is hilarious. And then Adam goes, I don't know what to do. And then he refers to the book. He says, I think I saw something in the book that says, if you need an out from where you are, draw a door on the wall and knock 3 times. And he does. And then the wall opens up and they both walk through it. Love it.
I love this sequence when they're remodeling the house and they're all going insane. My favorite thing, or my favorite part of the sequence, is a part where Charles goes into the kitchen and he tries to shoo away the workers in the kitchen. He tries to make himself he tries to make himself a cup of coffee. And one of Delia's sculptures comes in through the fucking window. It crashes through the fucking window. And he goes, guys, what the hell are you doing? And this sculpture that just crashed through the window basically traps Delia on the side of her own house.
Yeah.
And she goes, guys, my art is dangerous. Do you really think I want to die like this? The dialogue in this movie, like I have said and like Dean said, is so goddamn good. It's just so great. I really, really love the introduction of Beetlejuice when Barbara and Adam are at their wits' end and they open the book and they draw and they open the book and they draw the door and they see the commercial for Beetlejuice as well. That is everything about this movie is so good.
It does, because it moves at a fast pace. Everything, this is like not even far into it.
Right.
It's all the characters are set up, the story's set up, the tone's set up, the scenario set up, everything's set up. So the screenwriting is just on par. Nothing has been amiss. So this is my favorite scene when they actually enter, like, quote unquote, the afterlife, because it's like,
so cool.
It's literally somebody's imagined, oh, this is what it could be like. And I'm like, this is actually really, really ingenious to think of it like this. So Adam and Barbara enter an afterlife waiting room, which is so funny. And everybody's sitting in the cool. It's like, oh, even when you die, you got to wait in the waiting room. Like, it's like, and fuck.
Like, I imagined when I die, I don't have to fucking fill out paperwork, but I guess I do.
Yeah, that's what I mean. You got to take a ticket, wait your turn, write it, fucking fill out paperwork. And everybody in the waiting room is full of people that have died in different ways. I'm not even going to try and describe it, but I hope you've seen the movie so you know what I'm talking about. But it's really, really ingenious. I'm like, this is the coolest thing. The guy with the shrunken head, fuck man, he always makes me laugh. I love him.
You know which character is my favorite of the waiting room?
Is it the smoking
guy? The smoking guy.
You want a cigarette?
He's like, you want a cigarette? And he goes, I'm trying to quit. Guys, this guy is completely burnt from head to toe.
Yeah, he's pretty funny.
Also, at one point, the girl who works in the waiting room says, "This is what happens when he dies. That is what happened when she dies, and that is what happened when you die." So everybody in this waiting room, the way they look is the way they died.
Yes, and fun fact, this is not in my trivia. People have been asking Tim Burton, well, if everybody looks the way that they died in the waiting room, why aren't Adam and Barbara wet? Because they drowned. And
That's a good question.
right. So his answer is he was going to do that, but he said it would be severely uncomfortable for the actors to be drenched all the time. So he decided not to do that, which I don't mind. I don't mind.
That's kind, though.
Yeah.
It's kind.
Yeah. So
But you know what? But you know what? I bet you Alec Baldwin and Gina Davis would have been up for it.
oh, 100%. 100% they would have done it. But the logistics of it, they'd have to continually wet take after take after take. Like it would be a lot. It would be a lot. So they're in the waiting room. So a man, I love this guy, a man on a hanger who clearly died by being like run over by a fucking Mack truck
Or hit by a truck.
tells them to go to the sixth door, and they enter like an afterlife office space with skeletons working behind the desks. Imagine you die and you have to like work at a fucking office for like all eternity.
Oh my god.
The set design. I just want to talk about the set design. It looks like an office, but there's these green tinges. There's paper everywhere. There's the skeletons behind the desk. There's rubbish everywhere, but it looks really ominous. And there is this guy that looks like that he's hanging from a noose, and he's on like a
pulley system.
a pulley system, and he puts papers on people's desks. Like he works there too. Like what?
But the thing is, like Dean said, he's hanging from his actual rope that he hung himself with.
Yeah. Like even when you kill yourself, it's not over.
God damn it.
Oh my god, it's so funny. So funny.
Oh,
I love it.
so
There's
good.
just the imagination, the creativity is so good. So Adam and Barbara end up entering a hallway lined with doors. And they pass a doorway that has like a blind, and it goes up as they pass. Now, as a kid, and even now, this actually scares the shit out of me. In the room, there's like these really creepy, freaky ghosts like floating in the ether. And the janitor comes up and he says, "It's the lost souls room. It's a place for souls who have been exorcised. That's death for the dead." And it just gets, every time it just gets me. I'm like, that is fucking creepy. And then he pulls the blind down. He says, "Keep moving." So they walk down the hallway. They enter the sixth door. And at first they have no clue where they are. And then they realize it's their home, but completely remodeled. Now, I'm going to ask you your thoughts on that, and then I'll go to the second part of the scene because it's kind of like a continuing scene. So what do you think about the first part?
I find it really affecting when Barbara and Adam go through the sixth door and they see a version of their house, but they see a version of their house when Delia has remodeled it instead of taking the guts out of it like she's wanted to.
Yeah, this scene really, really, it works because they meet Juno, their caseworker, and she tells them that they were in the waiting room for 3 months. And I love that because, again, it shows that time works differently in the afterlife. And it's fantastic for moving the story forward at a rapid pace because it makes sense. Oh, time moves differently, but now the whole house is remodeled. They're all settled in, everything. So that's a waste of time watching all of that. So that's all done. So I thought that was really, really done well. Now, I love Juno. Juno, their caseworker, is a funny one. She reminds me of me when I get old, right? Because she's crabby. She has no time for idiots.
Juno comes off as a person that would take no shit from anybody, and I really, really do think that when you pass away, you're going to be just like her.
Yeah. She has no time for idiots or people who haven't bothered to do the work. It's like, do you know what it is? It's like she's worked at a case as a caseworker for eternity, and she's over it because she's so snappy with them. She's like, "You ever read the book? Oh my fucking god!" Like, I'm not going to tell you if you haven't even bothered to do the work. Like, I'm like, oh my god, this is. See, even when you die, you got jobs that you fucking don't even want. But I like her because she's crabby, because she's basically like, you haven't done this, you haven't done that. I just think she's a funny character. Anyway, she does, however, tell them about Beetle guys, because Adam says, "What about Beetle?" And she says, "No, don't say his name. He used to be her assistant. He was a troublemaker, and he went out on his own as a freelancer, and he claimed he could get rid of the living. He's been sleazing around your cemetery lately, and the only way he can be brought back is by saying his name 3 times." I have an issue with that. It's the only thing I really have an issue with in the script, because if she had
Oh, really?
yeah, if she hadn't have said
I
that, they wouldn't have known how to do that, and I understand why the screenwriter did that. They had to find a way, but there must have been a better
but
way.
wait a minute. Wait, no. I completely agree with you.
Mm,
There is a better way to do that.
yeah.
And I look. I think that Tim could have done that visually, and that would have been more appealing. But I'm surprised that it's the only issue that you have with this movie, because I got a big one with this movie that we haven't talked about yet.
Oh, okay.
I have a big one.
Oh, wow. All right, so up next, we're with Charles, and he's on the phone with an investor, and he says he needs to come there as he's found property to invest in. This guy doesn't want to come, but Charles wants to make money. And then Charles starts to hear moaning outside his door. And he gets up and he opens it and he sees a person with a sheet over themselves, and he thinks it's Lydia playing a joke. He's like, no. He's like, oh my God, your mother's going to kill you when she sees you've put holes in her $300 sheets. Like, and then he just shuts the door. But it's Adam trying to scare him, right? But it's not working. Lydia comes out of her room because she can hear moaning, and she thinks it's her parents doing the deed. She comes out, she starts taking Polaroids of Adam and Barbara with the sheets over them, thinking it's Delia and Charles. But when she checks the photos, she sees they're actually floating, and she goes, wait a minute. And then she goes up to them. She goes, what do you look like under there? And they're like, what? Aren't you scared? And she's like, yeah, I'm not scared of sheets. and then Adam and Barbara take off the sheets and ask how she can see them when nobody else can. And I love, again, I'm going to repeat what I said before. I love this explanation because it works. Lydia says in the book of the recently deceased, because she's been reading it, live people ignore the strange and unusual. I myself am strange and unusual. So what that means is she's open. If you're open to that kind of thing, you will see it, you will experience it. Whereas Charles and Delia are not. But Lydia is. And I love that because for me, it works as to why Lydia can see them and nobody else can.
I love the aspects of how Lydia can see them because she's open to believing in this sort of thing. But the thing that really bugs me about this movie, and I'm not going to wait till we get to those things because this sort of gives me an opportunity to talk about it. Why the hell can living people see this goddamn book? Like, that should not be a thing.
I don't
The-
know because
the-
it's a book.
the Yeah, no, but this book should only be visible by those people who have died. Why can living, breathing people take this book and actually read the goddamn thing? Because let me tell you something, folks. I bet my bottom dollar that this book was not in the house before Adam and
Barbara?
Barbara died. Thank you. Barbara died.
No.
So can you help me out here?
No. I'd never thought of that before, but you're right, because that book appeared. It appears
Yeah.
for people that have died. So theoretically, like people that are alive shouldn't even be able to see the book. So you're right.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And the fact that fucking we'll get to it. I love him, by the way, but this annoys me, so that's why I'm using the language here. The fact that fucking Odo can do what he does in the third act, I'm like, really? Ugh.
We'll get to that. But
We'll
yeah,
get to
the
that.
book thing, nobody else should be able to see it but them. That's a good point. I had not even thought of that ever.
I'm glad I can make you think about your favorite movie in a different way.
Yeah, never thought about that before. So moving on. Lydia tries to tell Delia there's ghosts in the house, but Delia just does not want to hear it. She dismisses her. She's like, listen, I need to get ready for a dinner party tonight. I don't want to hear this. I don't want to talk about this. This is not something I want to deal with.
Yeah.
Doesn't have time for it. And Adam and Barbara watch on and come to the conclusion that maybe they should contact Beetlejuice because Lydia is trying to tell them that the house is haunted, but they don't want to listen. So what are they going to do?
Delia is a really good really good character. She's played by one of my favorite actors as an adult and as a kid. She's Kevin McAllister's mom. Come on. I've always wondered something. Who in the fuck is Lydia's real mother? Because it's not Delia. Is it ever mentioned who her real mother is?
No, never.
Never? Have
No,
Yeah,
that was like actually never brought up in the story.
yeah, right.
I don't think
right,
we needed it
but
though. I don't think it was needed.
no.
No, not for me. I
Okay,
wasn't. I never needed it.
okay. The other thing that I really like about the scene, like we have said multiple times, every scene in this movie pushes the story plot forward.
Mm.
So by Lydia going to Delia and getting stonewalled, that makes Adam and Barbara go in, want to hire Beetlegeist
Yeah.
more and more because everything that they've been trying so far hasn't worked.
Hmm.
So the screenplay writer has constantly put them up against a wall until they have no other option.
Yes.
So
Exactly.
it is absolutely great writing and great plotting as well.
Yes. Now I'm going to mention something that I've only noticed right now. This scene, I'm like, hey, wait a minute. I don't know if you've noticed it, but well, I'm going to get to it right now. So Adam and Barbara are in the attic, and they're sitting next to the town model that we saw Adam making before. Is the whole town when they see a flashing light in the little model cemetery, and Barbara and Adam both go up to it, and they're like, "Should we do it?" And Adam's like, "Do it." And then Barbara says, Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice. And then they're transported into the model. I have a question for you. How did she know his name was Beetlejuice? It's never once mentioned before. All they know him by Beetlegeist. Where'd they get Beetlejuice from?
Juno,
Juno didn't say it.
she did not once.
No, because remember, Adam goes, what about Beetle Guy? And she goes, shh, don't even say his name.
Oh, okay. Wait a minute. Well, I think you found a hole.
Because later on in the movie, when Beetlejuice is trying to escape and Lydia goes, all right, what's your name? He can't actually say, he can't tell them his name. They've got to guess it. So how the hell did Barbara know his name was Beetlejuice?
I have no idea. That has to be another oversight by the writers because listen, guys, there's a way that Tim could have put Adam and Barbara onto the correct pronunciation of Beetlejuice's name from a visual aspect. There are tons of ways that he could have done it.
Look, I've seen this movie so many times, unless I've missed
He could
something.
he could have put a chapter on Beetlejuice in the book.
Could have. Yeah, could have. 100%.
By what Juno told us, Beetlejuice used to be her assistant, so it makes sense that it would be in the book.
Yeah. Yeah. So just gonna leave that tidbit with everybody listening. They're gonna be like, oh fuck, we don't know. Or maybe someone knows. I have no idea. Anyway, so they're in the model and they're in the cemetery in the model and they see the grave of Beetlejuice and they're like, what do we do? Oh, there's shovels there. Okay, I guess we dig. So they dig until they hit the coffin and then Beetlejuice emerges. He kind of flies up into the air and flies at them. Now, Michael Keaton is just,
Oh my
I
god!
can't believe the next year he played Batman. I can't
Yeah,
believe
look,
that.
I mean, the way that Michael Keaton jumps the hell into the story and he hits the ground running 100 miles an hour.
Oh, yeah.
His timing, his dialogue, his gropiness in the scene.
Beetlejuice is vulgar, he's disgusting, he's perverted, and he has no boundaries or social etiquette. And instantly Adam and Barbara know they made a mistake. They know they did.
I,
They're
I
just
mean,
like, okay.
come on! It's just unbelievable. I mean, look, Beetlejuice comes out of the grave like he's hopped up on heroin
I know.
because he just goes. I mean, come on, right?
I know. 100%. Yeah. Because he's been down there for hundreds of years. That's what he said. So you'd be energetic if you're stuck there. Stuck there too, I guess.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
funny because the scene where Adam and Barbara are saying like, can you be scary? And he goes, oh, what do you think of this? Right. And they do, it's like the scene, the shot is from behind Beetlejuice and then these things come out of his face and Gina Davis's reaction. Like,
So good.
I've never seen someone react so good at being so fucking scared. But I always wanted to know, I'm like, what does it look like? Right. And basically, Tim Burton was saying they actually did have this elaborate thing. You were actually going to see it from the front. but he thought it was more effective if you didn't see it and you just saw Adam and Barbara's reactions to it, which I agree.
He was right.
I was right. I agree. So now we come to the infamous dinner party scene where Adam and Barbara basically remote control the guests and make them sing the song Banana Boat, Deo by Harry Belafonte, thinking it will scare them from the house, but all it did was intrigue them to wanting to know more about the ghosts and wanting to meet them. So Lydia goes upstairs and she asks them to come down and they say no. Then Delia demands to be taken up to the attic to meet them. And when they do, Adam and Barbara are basically hanging out the window to not be seen. But I don't get that because the family can't see them anyway.
That doesn't make any sense. That's another hole in this movie.
Right.
Why are Adam and Barbara hanging out of the goddamn window? It doesn't make any sense because the only one that can see them is Lydia.
Yeah.
Delia and Charles are non-believers.
Yeah.
And Delia and Charles don't see them until the third act.
Yeah. Yeah.
What the hell?
I don't know. But this is the scene where Otho grabs the handbook, which you're right, he should not even be able to fucking see the handbook. Right?
Yeah, right.
You're so right. And then we hear Beetlejuice cackling at them for hanging out the window, and then he gets ready to make his appearance. Let's see what shakes loose. So that's that scene.
Bub, we've come for your daughter. Oh, so good. Oh no, go ahead. I'm so excited to talk about it. Go ahead.
Okay, so the next scene, Beetlejuice basically turns himself into a giant snake and chases down everyone, and he basically is physically assaulting them, right? And they're scared because they're getting physically injured. They don't know what's going on because the last one was like a song and dance. That was fun. This is not fun. This is completely different energy, completely different vibe. Until Barbara comes in and says his name 3 times, forcing him to go back to the model, which he is now pissed off about.
I swear. Look, guys, I love the moment when Beetlejuice becomes a snake and he basically assaults Charles and Delia, and he picks up Charles and he goes, and he picks up Charles and he goes, "Hey bub, we've come for your daughter," and then he throws Charles off of he picks up Charles and he throws him to the first floor. That's awesome. The other great thing about the scene is that Lydia, for some reason, thinks that Beetlejuice is connected with Barbara and Adam, and I'm like, what makes you think that this psychopath has anything to do with those nice people over there? So I was like, maybe that's an oversight by the writers as well. What do you think?
No, I think Lydia doesn't know enough because she literally just met Adam and Barbara. She doesn't know them. So she doesn't know who's friends with them or who, because all she knows is they want them to get out of the house. That's it.
Yeah. Also, another thing that kind of bugged me about. Does it bother you that we didn't see Adam and Barbara learning these skills a little bit more?
Which skills?
Skills to be a ghost, right? Like the skills to do the dinner party scene. Did it bother you that we didn't see them learning how to do it?
Oh, no, because I feel like they did it and hoped it would work. Do you know what I mean? Like they were just, let's just try something and hope it fucking works. And I think that's why they were so happy after. They're like, oh my God, it worked. So no, I didn't need a lead up to that.
Okay.
So Juno summons Adam and Barbara to her office and is so fucking pissed at them for letting Beetlejuice out and getting photographed as she says the living must never know that there's life after death. I don't know why, but that's what she says.
That's not the best part of the scene. Yeah. The best part of the scene is that Juno is fucking letting them have it, and Juno has to deal with this fucking football team, and this football team doesn't know that they're dead.
Yeah.
And one of the football players asks, "Hey, coach, where's the bathroom?" And she goes, "I'm not your coach." And she keeps saying he didn't survive, right?
Yeah.
It's so good. I'm sorry, Dean, for stepping on you.
And then she's like, "Bathroom? Are you kidding me?
Are you kidding me?" Are you? That's so
I
good.
know,
I'm
it's
sorry.
so good. It's so
Oh,
good. So she tells them they need to get the Dietzes out of their house themselves. Stop using Beetlejuice, and asks to show them what they're going to do. Now, they both kind of morph their faces into like gnarly shapes and leave. I don't know why Juno would say that that's a good idea because, again, these people can't fucking see them, right? So, why would Juno be like, yep, cool, you got it? I felt like the screenwriter let us down, although I love the claymation of the faces. That was fine. But I feel like Juno knows how to do her job and she would know that like that's not enough to get someone out, especially when they can't see you. And she just said the living must never know there's life after death. So if they go in there, then they're going to know that there's a ghost and there's life after death. So that kind of, does that make sense what I'm saying?
yes, yes. It completely makes sense. The fact that Juno has so much confidence in Adam and Barbara is sort of misplaced because the best thing that Adam and Barbara could do at this point, before the dinner sequence, which was awesome, by the way,
Mm.
the best thing that they could do is wear sheets and
Yeah.
say "boo."
Yeah.
And that is not going to do bull. That's not going to do bull crap.
I know.
So you know what?
Yeah.
I would have really preferred there to be another character. Like if Juno gave them somebody from the company to sort of help them
Mm.
scare these people, somebody with more experience.
Oh, I like that. Yeah, that's good. Yep.
Like this guy could be like your afterlife coach for a while,
Yeah. I
and
like it.
this individual could help you cross over,
Yeah. Yeah. No, I like it. I like it.
right?
Yeah.
So yeah, so I definitely think that you're not crazy there. I definitely think
Yeah.
that the screenplay writer missed something.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Lydia is writing a suicide note, and then heads to the attic.
Oh man.
Yeah, then heads to the attic, where she meets Beetlejuice, who is in the model still, and he's still fucking pissed off, and he's sulking. And he he asks to be released, and she goes, "Well, how do I release you?" And he goes, "You need to say my name 3 times, but I can't tell you. Let's play charades." So they play charades, and she figures out, she realizes he was the snake, and he goes, "Look, I can take you to Barbara and Adam on this side if you're looking for them. Just let me out." She says his name 2 times because she figures out his name is Beetlejuice, and then Adam and Barbara return and tell her not to say his name. And Lydia says she wants to be dead too because she thinks it would be easier. And Barbara says they say it's not easier on this side, but they want to try and make it work with her family because they really like Lydia, and they've really befriended her, and they want to try and make it work.
For poor Lydia to think that she's so unloved and nobody really cares is really sad for me. It really gives my heart a tinge of sadness. But now to get on to talk but now to actually talk about the scene, I love Tim Burton's framing in this moment because watching Lydia and Beetlejuice play charades is the coolest thing ever. Because Beetlejuice is like, look behind you, and she turns around, she sees the beetle, and she's like, beetle, and then and then Beetlejuice goes to the second word. He goes second word, and Beetlejuice does an animation of a juice going into a glass, and it's so cool watching Lydia try and figure out what to say. I just love that moment.
It's a good scene. It's a good scene. So Charles invites his investor friend over, saying he can produce ghosts for them.
Can I ask you something?
Yes.
What the fuck does Charles do? Like,
I think
is
he's a property investor.
property investor?
I think that's what he does. Yeah.
Okay. What? This is another problem that I have with the movie.
Mm.
Why in the hell? How does Charles think that they're going to turn this place into an amusement park? They live there, for God's sake. So if they turn the fucking house into an amusement park,
I think he was
where are
more
they going to
so.
fucking live?
I think he was more so talking about the town rather than not the house.
The whole town?
Yeah, because it's a little town in Connecticut. So he wanted to completely restructure it into doing the
Oh my
town, the
God.
amusement park thing.
Yeah, he's fucking crazy. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. So he invites his investor friend, saying he can produce ghosts. And when they get there, Lydia says they don't want to come down and meet the investors. And the investors get annoyed. They're like, we came to see ghosts. But Otho says, he shows them the handbook and he says, I can make them appear.
this fucking pissed me off. I hate the fact that Otho can read the book, and I hate the fact that he can understand the book, because this book should be for the fucking dead.
No, but that's the thing. He
Like
doesn't
I
understand it. He's reading the words, but he doesn't understand what he's saying, which is why it goes fucked up.
Okay, all right, all right, all right, all right. I'll give you that. Okay, no, I'll
Yeah.
give you that.
Yeah.
I'll give you that.
Because that was one of the things I wanted to bring up in this scene. Otho conducts a seance and he conjures Adam and Barbara by reading excerpts from the book and in front of them all. So they appear in their old wedding clothes and they look how they look, but they begin to rapidly age. And Charles is like, can you stop this? Like, what are you doing? And Otho says, like, I don't know what's happening. I can't stop it. I don't know what to do. And this is just a good example about how people should not mess with shit that they don't understand, because he didn't understand what he was doing. He's just like, yeah, let's do this. And normally people that mess with like seances and shit like that, that doesn't happen. But shit happens where it's like, oh, they don't understand what they've done because they don't understand the power that they're messing with. And that goes with like literally everything and anything that you do. And if you don't understand it, you're going to get fucked up. So yeah, what I was saying before, Otho does not understand the book. He's just reading the words and going, "This will be fun," and then it's like fucking not. What do you reckon? I'm not finished, but you
No,
can jump in.
yeah, no, but but the thing about it is, someone like Otho, throughout the whole movie, he seems to be in tune with the universe in a very particular way. So it really pisses me off that someone like him would find this book and not do the proper research. Like, someone who claims to be something, and for them not to do the proper research really ticks me off.
What did he claim to be though?
I believe that he claimed to be a person that was in touch with the universe, didn't he?
No, he's an interior decorator from New York. Unless I missed something.
Because no. The reason why I'm jumping to that conclusion is, you remember when they first got there to the house, right?
Mm,
And Adam has to run to close the
mm,
attic door so they can't get into the attic.
yeah.
When he runs past Otho and Delia on the stairs, Otho feels something.
Oh yeah, he feels something, but that's it. He just felt like a rush of wind, but that he didn't see Adam. So yeah, I didn't think he was connected at all. I thought I thought he's just such a shithead. He's a shithead.
Yeah. Well. I mean, that explains it. He's a shithead
Yeah.
and he's an idiot.
Yeah. So Lydia sees what's going on. She doesn't know what to do. She rushes to get the help of Beetlejuice, and he says he'll do it, but she has to marry him, and he's just like, yeah, fuck, just all right, just help them. So she lets him out, and
I'm sorry.
he causes fucking havoc as usual, puts on a big fucking song and dance as Beetlejuice does. I'm not doing it, explain it. I'm sure everybody's seen the movie. Adam and Barbara slowly begin to de-age and go back to themselves. Next minute, Beetlejuice is in a tux. Lydia is in a horrible red wedding dress.
That's awful.
It's awful. Adam and Barbara are back to their normal selves, and they try saying his name, but Beetlejuice banishes Adam to the model and then banishes Barbara to the desert where the sandworm lives. And then Adam gets in a little car and drives a model car and crashes into Beetlejuice's foot as the sermon is pronouncing Lydia and Beetlejuice man and wife. And then Barbara comes crashing in the ceiling riding the sandworm that then swallows Beetlejuice whole. And I love this because they stand in front of Delia and Charles, who are finally able to see them, and they smile at them because Delia and Charles have been through so much stuff that now they're open and now they can see Adam and Barbara. And I love that they just smile at each other. They're not pissed. They're just like, oh, you're the guys that are in our house. I love the way that they look at each other. It was great.
Don't sleep on the fact that Delia and Charles have a really nice arc throughout this whole movie. I mean, look, for 95% of the movie, they're trying to make a buck off of the fact that their house is haunted, but because of all the shit that Beetlejuice makes them go through, first trying to kill them by dropping one of them off the stairs, by throwing another one down the stairs. So it's really nice to see this small arc that Charles and Lydia go through Charles and Delia go through in this movie. And I have to say, Michael Keaton's madcap performance in this third act is unbelievable. It's amazing because everybody's trying to get him. Everybody's trying to say his name so he goes and fucks off. I mean, he takes out Adam's teeth. He fucking
Zip
throws
up.
this steel thing on Barbara's mouth. His performance is amazing in this whole movie. And by the way, the creature that tries to marry them, that guy, I want that thing in my house.
I know, he's so
That
cool.
is such a cool puppet, and the voice too.
I know.
Oh, so
I
good.
know. So Adam and Barbara are decorating the house, and the house has gone back to the way that it was. So I assume that Delia liked them so much that she just put it back the way that it was. And again, that shows the arc. It shows, you know what? I'm going to go back to the way that they wanted it, because I think she realized, yeah, it kind of is their house and they're living there and we're kind of sharing it with them. So I really like that. And Lydia comes home from school and saying that she got an A on her math test, and she asks if she can do it. And Adam agrees, and then music starts to play. And meanwhile, this is so funny. Meanwhile, it cuts to Charles, and he's in his study reading a magazine entitled The Living and the Dead, Harmonious Lifestyles and Peaceful Coexistence. By the same people that brought you the handbook from the recently deceased. Which,
Oh, so good.
oh, it's so ingenious. And then Delia comes in with her new sculpture of Beetlejuice's head and scares the shit out of Charles. And she's like, he likes it.
Oh, so good.
Meanwhile,
So
Lydia's in the living room, and she lifts up miming the words to Jump in the Line by Harry Belafonte. And it's basically the same situation as the dinner party, but I guess she thought it was so cool that she's like, can I do it, and they agreed, which is really, really cool. So that was that scene.
The thing that I love most about that scene is something really small. When we are taken to the shot of Lydia coming out of the school, Lydia is wearing bright clothing throughout the whole movie. Lydia has been a little dark figure. She's been obsessed with death. She's been obsessed with dark things. She's been, and the fact that she's wearing light clothing in the final scene shows you from a visual point of view that Lydia is in a better place now as a human being.
And she's smiling. She never smiled before. So yeah,
she never did.
Yeah.
I just think that's absolutely genius, and the fact that the Deets were able to come to an agreement with Adam and Barbara to sort of restore the house to its original being, I thought that was a great decision. And the moment when Delia shows Charles a new sculpture and he goes, that's just great.
The last scene of the movie, which is so funny, Beetlejuice is in the afterlife waiting room. And he looks at his ticket number. Everybody's got a ticket number, and his ticket number is like 900 million, 998 million, like 338 million. Like, it's just fucked. And then he looks up to see which number is next, and it says now serving 4. No, sorry, now serving 3. And he's like, like, he's gonna be sitting there for the next 50 years. His face is like, oh my fucking god. It's such a good reaction from Michael Keaton.
Oh my god.
Because that's everybody's reaction. And he looks over to the guy sitting next to him. Now, the guy sitting next to him is like a Native American, a native tribal medicine man, witch doctor, right? And he's holding number 4. And then he looks at him and he goes, hey, there goes Elvis. And then the guy looks and he snatches the 4 and he gives this guy the long number. And Beetlejuice is like, well, guess I'm next. And the witch doctor looks at what he's done, puts his hand in his little baggie and sprinkles like dust on Beetlejuice's head, essentially shrinking it. And it's so funny. He shrinks it really small and Beetlejuice is like, whoa. And then he's like, wait a minute, I can make this work. And that's it. That's it. And that just ends. It's pretty funny.
Yeah. The final scene in the waiting room is so ingenious because I love the way that it starts. You see Beetlejuice sitting in the waiting room, and the last time we were there was this woman that was cut in half, and Beetlejuice is touching the woman that's cut in half, but she's touching her legs.
Mm.
And on the other side of Beetlejuice is the same woman with the upper part of her body, and she takes a book and she whacks him upside the head. It's just so great.
So great.
But like Dean, I loved the whole sequence of Beetlejuice trying to steal the witch doctor's number, and take his number and give the witch doctor Beetlejuice's number, or the long number. It's just a great sequence.
Yeah. So that's the end of the movie. So I'm going to go to my trivia. And my first trivia is the studio, because we love studios here. The studio.
We do. They're great.
Originally wanted to call the film House Ghosts.
Oh, God, that's awful.
Of course it's awful. Luckily, Tim Burton went, no, we're not calling it that. Michael Keaton ad-libbed 90% of his dialogue.
Oh, wow.
He's that good. And Tim Burton is that good because he let him.
Of course he did.
Michael Keaton only appears 14.5 minutes of the whole fucking movie.
Really? Wait a minute. It feels like he's in the whole movie.
I know, but he's not. 14 minutes.
Wow.
Kirstie Alley was the first choice for Barbara, but she couldn't get out of her contract with Cheers.
You know what? I mean, listen, Gina Davis is a brilliant actress, but to me, Gina Davis was not at peak level yet.
Mm.
That will come a couple years later.
Yeah.
In a little movie that I love called A League of Their Own.
Mm.
I mean, that's peak Gina Davis. But here, her performance is great as well.
I love her in this movie. I absolutely adore her in this movie. Okay, my last piece of trivia is Angelica Houston was originally meant to play Delia Deetz, but she actually got really ill at the time, and she couldn't film it. Angelica Houston, that's interesting.
Yeah, that's interesting. And you know what? I mean, look, when I always hear potential castings for my favorite characters, it's very hard for me to imagine other people other than the people that I've been watching my whole life play that role.
Yeah.
So the character of Delia is ingrained in my brain as, it's Kevin McAllister's mom. It's Catherine O'Hara.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it will always be that, no matter what.
Yeah. All right, that's the end of my trivia. If you want to email us, you can email us at themixtapepod@aol.com. You can subscribe to us if you like what we have to say. Up next week, we have the classic movie, The Shadow. So please join us for that. And we hope you have enjoyed our season 8 premiere. And you can go back and listen to any of our other podcasts. Just my brain farted there. I was like, what am I saying again? Go and listen to our other podcasts where we've got heaps of them. You can listen to us on YouTube or any podcast network that you choose. And as I say every week, if someone is kind enough to make you a mixtape, that must mean that they really love you. The Mixtape Podcast is a Balloonhead Productions presentation.